President Trump continues pushing for peace in Ukraine, but some in the media are already downplaying any potential success.
Leavitt appeared to be a bit stressed out, anxious. Their eyes were wide, almost ashen at times. Those were some of the sort of images that will stick with me.
A letdown, I think, would be an understatement, but it's a little embarrassing, frankly, to see all of that on the tarmac.
I believe that the humiliation for the United States, the loss of credibility and reputation yesterday in Alaska was much worse than the botched withdrawal from Afghanistan.
I was struck by, obviously, President Putin was not at the table, but President Trump was effectively voting his proxy. He said President Putin wants to find an answer, too. President Putin wants to reach into this.
And White House Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt had something to say about comments that you just heard.
One thing that has absolutely not changed is the media's negative and downright false coverage of President Trump and his foreign policy accomplishments. From the beginning of this entire process, much of the left-wing media has been actively rooting against the President of the United States in the pursuit of peace. All weekend following those historic U.S.-Russia bilateral talks, we listened to clueless pundits on television trying but failing to claim that the President had failed.
Joining me now is Fox News contributor Guy Benson. Hey, Guy.
Hey, Ainsley, good to see you.
Hey, it's just so obvious. I mean, talking about Karoline Leavitt with ashen eyes, and that what we saw on Monday with 7 world leaders coming at the drop of a hat to be on the other side of the Resolute desk in the Oval Office, that is worse than the withdrawal of Afghanistan. The media is so biased, Guy. And we saw that in November, that the American people rejected what the media is spewing.
Yeah, they're delusional. They hate the president. They root against him in basically every possible context. They hate Republicans. They want Democrats to win. They're leftist. So let's just say that's almost always the case with most journalists. And it's a big reason why the media, the news media, so-called, as a whole, is in so much trouble. I do think it's completely reasonable to have skepticism about how this process is going to play out. You have a very stubborn man in Vladimir Putin who started this war and has not given major concessions yet that are really tangible. But it seems like a lot of the people who are actually smart and not blinded with hate or rage said that especially what we saw this week feels like momentum forward, especially with that U.S.-European unity and the possibility of ironclad guarantees when it comes to the security of Ukraine if a deal is struck. So I'm much more interested in people trying to look at the facts rather than just yet again in this boring, insipid, predictable way trying to twist anything into a negative for Donald Trump, including things that are at least arguably big positives.
Yeah, and when we interviewed President Trump yesterday morning, I think it was Lawrence, asked him a question about the conversation he had with Putin. Did you have this conversation in front of the other leaders? I thought he was very respectful. He's trying to play both sides here. I think that's advantageous for our country and for this conflict between Ukraine and Russia. Listen to what he said about the conversation calling Putin at 1 o'clock in the morning, Russia time.
Well, I think they expected it. I didn't do it in front of them. I thought that would be disrespectful to President Putin. I wouldn't do that because they have not had the warmest relations. And actually, President Putin wouldn't talk to the people from Europe. And we had a very good call. And I told him that we're going to set up a meeting with President Zelensky, and you and he will meet. And then after that meeting, if everything works out, okay, I'll meet and we'll wrap it up.
Guy, what's your reaction?
One of the things that stood out to me in that interview when he was talking about Putin was he said, as he often does, I have a very good relationship with Vladimir Putin. He said, but it has to get results. He doesn't have a warm relationship with Putin personally just for the sake of it. It is utilitarian. He wants to have a good relationship with him so they can actually achieve things. And the implication, and he actually stated pretty directly, is it doesn't matter at all if we have this good relationship one-on-one and then the results are bad, because then he won't care about that relationship as much anymore. That was the sort of the shot across the bow, proverbially, to Putin saying, all right, we've got this thing going on, but you better deliver.
Utilitarian. That's a great word to describe it. Thank you so much, Guy. Thanks for coming on. Great to see you.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.